Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Sherry and I am going to be starting an easy quilt block beginner series. And today we are going to be working on a 9-patch. Super easy, super simple for those just starting out and getting their feet wet when it comes to quilting. So join me, will you? You can create endless patterns with this 9-patch. So the supplies you're going to need for this, you're going to want fabric, you're going to want a cutting mat, a rotary cutter or scissors, whichever your preference. You're going to want a quilting ruler, pins or clips, and of course an iron, an ironing pad, or an ironing board. Fabric. And you're going to want to cut your fabric into 4.5-inch squares. So I have already prepared my fabric. I cut them out with a rotary cutter. I ironed them so they're nice and crisp, and I have 2 pink colors out. So now I'm going to lay them out in the pattern that I want them to go in. So I am going to... So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pieces. And now we're going to put these pieces together. So I have my cute little bucket. Here we go. And I have my clips in here, so I'll pull some of these out. I also have quilting pins. And I have this magnetic dish that holds them. So if I decide I don't want to use these, I can always use these. And I always keep both out on my sewing table. We're going to start putting these together. And we're also going to use a technique called chaining. And chaining these pieces together is super fun. Keeps them where you want them so you don't lose track. So what we're going to do, we have A, B, and C. We are going to take B. And we are going to lay it face down on A. And we are going to do all 3 of these. Face down on A. Just like this. So you can see that they are lined up. You can choose to put a clip on these to hold it till you get to your machine, just like this, or you can just take a pin. So we'll leave clips on this one, and then this one, make sure that we're all nice and even. We will take this one and we'll just pin it right in the middle, okay? And then this last one, let's get this one ready. This last one, we will pin just like this. Okay, so this gives you an idea on different ways you can do it. You can clip it, pin it in the middle, or you can pin the corners. So now we are going to take these to our machine, and what we're going to do is we're going to lay this one on top of this one on top of this one, because this one we want to be first. So we're going to go to our machine and we are going to sew a 1/4-inch seam down each one of these. So here we are in our machine. We have our first one. I have my 1/4-inch foot on here, and it is a guide that comes with my machine that helps me keep my seams nice and straight. So we're just going to start out nice and slow. We're going to let the feed dogs pull our fabric through. Come up to your clips, take them off. Stop when we get close to the end. We're going to go get piece number 2, and piece number 2 is going to get slid up right underneath because we want to continue sewing and chaining these together. Now I don't have to remove this pin because it's in the middle and it's not going to bother anything I'm doing. So we're going to pick up number 3. We're going to remove that first pin and we are going to start sewing. Just like that. So now I've taken this over to my ironing board and I'm going to lay these out so that you can see the order that we sewed these in. And when I sewed them, there's a little piece connecting all 3 of these together, okay? So what we want to do now is set our seams. And by setting your seam, you're just taking your iron and you're just setting it right on top of that square. Just like that. Just like that. You don't want to take your iron and go like this because you can stretch your fabric. You just want to set the seam and you just want that heat to set that in. And now we're going to open this up and take your finger and you want to gently press this so that your seam is going this way. Now, when we open this one, we want our seam to go this way. And then when we get down to this one, when you open it, you can see that you want your seam to go this way. So because the darker material is where the seam's going to be, no one's going to see it. Now here's the fun part. Now you want to take your iron and you want to gently get right on top of that seam. Give it a little bit of steam. You want to get that in there. You don't want it to pucker or get a tuck in it. So you just want to be gentle, but you want to make sure that that's nice and flat. And then we'll compare to this one. We'll just give a gentle pull and a sweep with our iron. Some steam. All right. So now we're getting ready to do the next step. And the next step, we are going to attach C onto B. So we're going to take C, we're going to lay it face down on top of B, just like this. And we're going to clip it into place here and here. We're going to take the next one and we're going to lay this C piece on top of this B piece, just like this. I'm going to pin these just the way I did in the first segment when we did B to A. That's all on there. Now we're going to move on to the last piece and we're going to take the C piece and place it on the B piece. And then we are just going to add some pins right here. Now, when you chain piece, I have not cut my pieces apart yet. I really don't want to cut them apart. I'm just going to leave them together. It helps keep everything in order. So we're going to take our first one, just like this. We are going to put this in. Sew a 1/4 inch seam. Let the feed dogs do the work. Let the feed dogs pull the material through. No need to push it. Okay, now we're going to take our next one and see how keeping them chained together is keeping them in order. You just push it right up to the foot and the feed dogs pick it up and they carry it the rest of the way through. And I'm going to go ahead and pull that out. And our last piece still connected. And we're going to slide it right up underneath here. letting the feed dogs do all the work for us, and they're just pulling that fabric through. Okay. All right, so here we go. Here is our piece. So now we're going to open this. Remember, just like before, we gave it a little finger press. Okay. We want our seam to go to the dark. Same with this one. So we're gonna have to just kind of roll it, manipulate it just a little bit. We want that just lightly finger pressed, right like that. Open our last one up with the dark, finger press that right there. Try not to pull on your fabric because you don't want to stretch it out. And just like before, we're gonna run an iron over these. I like to give a little tug. You're not pulling, you're just giving gentle assistance so that that seam lays over where you want it to. Okay, then I turn this way. I give a gentle tug, and I'm ironing that seam, this way. I'm gonna give this some steam. There we go. And now the last one. Just a gentle tug. And we're just gonna sew right over the top of that. Or iron right over the top of that. So isn't that cute? The next step. And the next step, because we have taken A, B, and C and connected them, now we're gonna go A, B, C, and we're gonna take A and we're gonna flip it over and connect it to B. Now remember, this is key when you're quilting anything. Cutting your squares, huge. You've got to get your cuts right. But nesting your seams is the second thing that is super, super important. So I am going to pick up some clips. So we're going to take A. Now remember, our seam is going this way and this way. These are going in, these are going out. We're going to take A and flip it over onto B. Okay, just like this. And where A seam is going this way and B is going this way, it locks it in there and you can feel it right underneath your fingers. So we're gonna take a clip, we're gonna make sure that that is nested together, and we're gonna clip it right there. We're gonna come down to this one and make sure that that one's nested, and it is. Clip it right there. Now we are gonna go to our machine and we are going to put a 1/4 inch stitch right across this. We are going to sew a 1/4 inch seam. Now when I come up to the seam, I'm going to keep my finger on it. I know it's hard to see, and then I'm going to remove the clip, but I keep my finger on here, or I use the tip of a needle. And I keep my pin on the seam right like this so that the seam stays down when it's going underneath the presser foot, because you don't want it to get bunched up and flip backwards on you. I'm just gonna sew down the rest of this. We're coming up to the next one. I'm gonna keep my finger on that seam again. I wanna make sure that these are nested. Now this one's coming this way, so I don't have to worry about it moving, flipping up on me. It's not going to. And just like that, we now have A, ready? Connected on our B. Okay. And now we're going to take C and we're going to flip it up onto B, and we are going to nest these seams. So I'm going to show you another trick because I clipped the first set. So this second set, I have these nested together. You can see this part here and this here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of my pins and I'm gonna put it in right in that seam right there, okay? I'm gonna do the same thing to this one. Just gonna go right next to that stitch line that's right there. And I'm going to put those in just like that. I'm gonna take this to my machine and I'm gonna put a 1/4 inch stitch on this. As I come up, you want to make sure you pull that pin out. You don't want to sew over your pins. It is a very good way to break a needle. Come down. I'm going to use the tip of my pin and I'm going to press this down so that it goes up underneath there. And just like that, this is now done. So now we're going to open it up just like this. Set the seams and then you can press it nice and flat. I like to press it so that my seams go into the middle. Just like this. There we go. I like to give it a good steam so that they lay nice and flat. And they look phenomenal. All right. So thank you so much for joining me. This concludes your 9 patch. There are so many different things that you can do with this, and you'll see more tricks and tips coming in the next video, and you can see some really cute things that we're gonna do with our 9 patch.